welcome to Super Talk Show. It's so nice to have you with us, joining us from PST time in the US.
Yeah, absolutely, Heidi. Pleasure to be here. Excited.
Yeah. So of course, first of all, thank you so much for joining. So to start off the interview, I want to ask, can you give an introduction about yourself and your role as a founder for the Institute for Youth and Policy?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Paul. I'm current senior in high school, just turned 17. And I'm currently the CEO of the Institute for Youth and Policy. I founded it about 2 years back. Just for the general information, YIP is a 501c3 nonprofit. And our ultimate goal is to strengthen American democracy as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So can you sort of elaborate on what you're doing specifically with your organization? Like, is it a news, a newspaper, and how do
Yeah.
you engage? Because on the website, as well, so many students in the first scene for the homepage. So how did you engage all the students worldwide?
For sure. So we were founded after my TikTok account essentially took off, and my TikTok account, the whole point of it was I don't actually take a side. If I disagree with a point or I think a point being made is bad, then I'll kind of counter that point. And so I was always countering Republicans and Democrats, and the whole thing I came up with was no BS politics, right? We actually talk to each other and try to make progress rather than just, steadfastly say, I'm going to agree with all the Republican points or all the Democratic points, because that's generally what the narrative was, both in the media and TikTok. So I started, YIP just as a publishing platform. We've obviously grown a lot since. So right now we, equip students with the tools necessary to propel political progress across the board. And we do that through a couple of different student-led branches. Our first one is Civic Innovations. They essentially incubate and house pilot programs. You can think of it kind of like a Y Combinator for social impact. It's very cool. They're currently running about 4 different programs. We have the discourse department. They run our fellowship and also deal with all of our events. So they essentially build and deepen the connection between persons and the mission through kind of various, social settings and mediums. We have the actual policy department, which most of the impressive numbers you see, that comes from the policy department. They're dedicated to sharing all sorts of nonpartisan, unbiased, and inquiry-driven content. So we have a peer-reviewed journal. We have over 800 op-eds currently published. And we also have about 60 policy briefs, and those policy briefs are typically policy recommendations that we actually give to local and state government agencies as like a policy recommendation for them. And then our last department is education. They essentially work to create civics curriculum that would be ideally implemented in schools both on the local, national, and federal level. And education most recently signed with College Board, so we are going to be an AP curriculum for AP Seminar, AP US History, AP US Government, and AP Comparative Politics. So we're getting started there. We've been in a couple of classrooms. We've done lots of workshops. So education is also on its way uphill. But yeah, those are our 4 departments.
Wow. Can you elaborate on what you talked about AP. So essentially what you guys are doing is going to be integrated into AP courses?
Yeah. So we're going to be 2023 to 2024 is going to be our trial year for AP curriculum. If it goes really well, then we're going to be a permanent part of it. If it doesn't go well, then we're going to be a part of the modules. So we're getting started.
Okay. So I guess I want to ask, you're the founder. So how did you, one person, expand to such a wide array of people? Or did you have a team behind it? How did you start on that?
I mean, of course I have a team behind it. I always say I surround myself with people who are better in respective fields than I am. So, for example, I trust my CMO more with marketing than I trust myself. I trust my chief of staff with problem solving more than I trust myself. I trust my SVP of education to know more about education than I myself, right? My only job is to make sure that respective SVPs have the resources necessary to make an impact. So Most of the vision comprehensively behind one given department comes from the leader, right? The comprehensive vision comes from me. I have to make sure what they're doing aligns with my comprehensive mission. But the comprehensive vision just for that one department comes from the leader. And my job is just to make sure we have a good community, we have good human resources, good applicants, good marketing, good corporate functions, essentially. And that vision or view of it's my job to get the resources and their job to build out their department based on their passion is, I think, what's led to our success thus far. And obviously you start with, when I was 14, I started with less confident people than I have now, because the more you grow, the more confident people you can attract, the bigger teams you can build, the more applicants you get. So obviously it's been easier attracting more talent lately than it was, for example, when I was 14, because it's, if you're a junior at Harvard, the chance that you join something founded by a 14-year-old, unless it's like incredible, is low. Now, we get applicants from top schools all the time. So it is about making that character arc of a youth organization, essentially. You start somewhere, you build it up, and you keep building it until it becomes something not only prestigious, but also something that can have an actuarial impact within a given space.
Yeah, so I want to go back to going back in time to when you were 14 years old or 2 years ago. I think it was June 2020. That's what it says on your resume. You started founding this organization. So what were your first steps? And I also looked at your website. It's very cool. Did you build it or did you have a team behind? I mean, of course you have a lot of teams, but yeah, what was that like?
So the first website, and you can go on Wayback Machine and actually see all the iterations of our website. It's pretty cool. The first website was just a Google site, and that was all me. I would once a month go in, people that wanted to publish articles, I would publish them on the website. It was like all, custom done. It wasn't anything fancy. The second iteration of our website, which I made in November of 2020, that was a me-made website that was on Webflow. We had a content management system. We had an actual back end where we could publish things. Like, it was a bit nicer. It looked pretty good. Then in March of 2021, we merged with the Young Americans Coalition for Unity. They had a lot of people. They had a good tech team. So then in June of 2021, we decided to redo the website again. And we had that version of the website for 1 year. And then most recently, we redid the website again in July of 2022. Also went pretty nicely because that's our current iteration of the website. It's very usable, has a nice search bar. People generally like that rebrand. But we are kind of in this pattern of once every year, we really upgrade our external appearance, tech systems, marketing. Because, for example, we used to just market our programs rather than branches. It was incredibly difficult for people to understand what we do, because we imagine if I have every department listed, all like 13, 14 of them, much harder to understand than 4 branches. So a lot of it is about how we communicate our impact, how we communicate what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. I see. So when you were making iterations to your website and different stuff, did you have some budget or yeah?
Our first year of existence, we spent about $192, which is pretty low. Second year, we spent just upwards of $1,000. And then I think 2022 and in the whole year, we spent about $4,000. So our spending has been on an upward slope, but I think our first year was kind of a testament to you can run an organization on a very bare bones budget, because all we were paying for was the website and Zoom. That's it. Now obviously with a nonprofit status, we're able to get all our Google accounts for free. We're able to get Canva Premium. We're able to get 20% off Zoom. LinkedIn gives us a good deal. Lucidchart, like most companies, have some nice. Grammarly, we get 20 accounts for free. Most companies, especially software companies, have a nice little deal for nonprofits, so it's not too bad.
Okay. And if I may ask, where did your budget come from? Did you do some fundraising or?
The $192 were out of pocket. I did write it off because I considered it a donation to a nonprofit. Um, Most of the money after that came from fundraising, mostly kids and parents of kids who really liked what we're doing. And ultimately I started actually networking, trying to get a good board of advisors together, good board of directors, and lots of those people are also really aligned with what we do. So oftentimes when we send out like a nice, hey, it's Giving Tuesday, want to donate message, we do get a donation. So it's not too bad.
Mhm. I see. Wow, that's very impressive. And back to you, like Paul, I saw on your resume you were like interns for this and interns for that, doing due diligence for actual companies. And sometimes on the timeline, it's not like during summer break or anything. It's literally
Mhm.
like September to now. So how do you really manage your time? And are you doing it simultaneously when you're going through high school?
Yeah. Well, I have been consistently enrolled in high school for the last 4 years. So it has been a ride. I think I had a good time during 2020 to 2021 because that was a fully virtual school year for me, meaning I could essentially have my computer in one side of the room, sit in the other end of the room and do my internship and just kind of let my teachers babble. I was lucky because it was the type of thing, I'm just there for the test. It wasn't too bad because it's online too. Um, as far as now, I do go to a pretty difficult public high school. And a lot of the time I try to separate work and personal life in school. So school, most of the time, I will try to finish my schoolwork in school so that I don't have to worry about it at home.
Whoa.
When I get home, my sole focus is then YIP, political consulting, public policy, whatever I happen to be working on at the time. And typically I always have like one or two personal projects also that I just uh, dabble in. So I think it's the separation of, keeping school at school, personal life in my room, my work stuff in my office, and then it's, kind of works out.
Okay. So assuming you're in like AP courses, what do you mean keeping stuff in school like during lunchtime or what can you elaborate on that time management aspect of your school life?
Yeah. I mean, I take AP courses, AP Calc, AP Physics, AP Government. I do take them. I will say that the workload is sometimes not manageable at school, which is why I generally split things up and I have a prep period. For example, for that prep period, I don't stay at home. I go to school and I actually do schoolwork during that prep period. So I have an hour and a half every, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, to spend on schoolwork, which already is a good start. And I'm pretty efficient at homework and those things, so it's not too much of a problem. Um, yeah.
Hmm. Wow. And I have like one more question about, your resume. Like, where did you find all the internships and how did you get started as already a paid consultant for, political campaigns when you're just a high school student?
Yeah. Well, I started off with Rishi Kumar for Congress, local congressional campaign. I started as an intern. I worked my way through like 9 or 10 different ranks and ended up as a senior field manager. I That's kind of when I noticed, oh, I have a little bit of a knack for politics. Because while I was doing that, I was also getting essentially famous on political TikTok for my political opinions. And Kumar for Congress was Democratic. That's when I switched to the Jorgensen campaign. So I worked for the Jorgensen campaign in field management for a while, both in California, but then also on the national level, which was pretty good. And that was the Libertarian campaign for Congress. After that, I started essentially consulting for local campaigns a little bit, getting them ready for 2022. And then in the meantime, I built up my image doing some other internships. So I did Honeywell Lake Ventures. That was a policy internship and also a venture capital internship, which was pretty good. Kind of med tech. In that area, I worked as an international relations intern for a beer company in Germany. It's my inner German coming out. Um, and then also I volunteered some time with my synagogue and Seven Cups, two great organizations. And then 2022 came around and I was like, well, I can make money now doing this. So that's when I joined as the director of programs for another congressional campaign in the district. And also started actually doing my boutique political consulting. Yeah, and then I was also a campaign manager for city council campaign in my city. So yeah, I've done a fair bit in campaign work, but I don't think it was too hard to get started. Like if you're able to work your way through the ranks in one campaign, that means you are good at campaign work, and you can probably turn it into something where you actually charge for your services. The other thing that's helped me out is the fact that I'm really good at youth program development. Like I've kind of built my image as the #1 youth program development guy out there, period. If you want a youth program, you call Paul. Because I run YIP. YIP has a lot of youth programs. Pretty much every campaign I've been a part of, I was director of programs. I wonder why. It is my little thing. So yeah.
Wow. That's more than a fair bit, but can you run us through like what do you do as a consultant? What exactly is it? Just emailing or talking to people? What do you
I
do?
wish it was just emailing. No, so I have a little bit of a team behind my consulting typically. And I'll give you an example. Most recently, a congressional campaign from Florida hired me, and they wanted a youth policy program, essentially where they have interns, and those interns write policy for them. I was like, cool, give me some time. I did outreach within their district through LinkedIn. I got some pretty good kids to join. I set up a management structure for them, and effectively developed the whole policy program, right? This is the editing process. This is who you report to. I developed all of that for them, and then the campaign was able to have that as an aspect of their fellowship or internship. And I handle everything, from legal work to whether you pay them or not, whether you have editing software or not, to what types of kids you hire for different positions, to how many editors you have. Like those are all things I'm hired to figure out for them. And they expect me to know because I've worked on a fair amount of campaigns and also run YIP. So yeah, that is kind of my expertise of like they want a program, they tell me what they want, I go, oh cool, let me do that for you, and then I charge them money.
Okay. Wow. So thank you so much, Paul, for joining. Just to end the interview, I want to put you on the spot by asking you like a question I ask all the Super Talk Show guests. Right now in these days, there's so many people like trying to start their own business, starting their own nonprofit, starting youth organizations, doing their own startup. So if there's any tip of advice you can give to our super audience, like how do you make yourself stand out, you and your organization, to stand out from competitors and, reach a very large demographic of just viewership and audience and team members?
Well, I don't know if people are going to like this answer, but I think the #1 way to stand out is to keep doing what you're doing right now in college. If you quit what you're doing between high school and college, either passing your nonprofit on, making it probably die, or just straight up leaving it, hanging it out to dry, that doesn't look good on a resume. People don't like that. And people then see why you really started your nonprofit. So unless it is your plan to continue running your nonprofit in college, I actually wouldn't recommend you start a nonprofit. I recommend you join a nonprofit, because it's useless to have more 501(c)(3)s popping up that are student founded that there's no actual passion behind. If you are just doing something to go to a top school, then people don't love that, and people will judge you for it in college. It is a very real thing. To that extent, though, if you do have a genuine passion for what you're doing, #1 thing I can say, get some mentors. I mean, I started off YIP with zero management knowledge, and now on the day I have 12 direct reports, and collectively a team of about 300 people that report to me in some way, shape, or form. I needed to learn management, and a big part of that was having the right people to ask questions. Find those people in your life, whether they're family connections or you network your way to them through LinkedIn or you talk to other nonprofit CEOs. Like you'll find some people And you really, really want to just set up, one meeting every 2 or 4 weeks, just checking in with them, have some questions ready, make it a productive session. That is absolutely the thing that made me a better manager. At least I'm not saying I'm good yet, but I certainly have my places to develop. But that is a place to start.
Wow, what a way to end this interview. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.